Do the face. Yes.
You did do the Facebook? Great. I'm glad that you let me and everyone else know. Y'all, happy Friday. You can see we are goofy and silly business as usual. This is a prime illustration and demonstration of not looking like what you're going through. Because this week, y'all, hasn't been a doozy of a week. So much of a doozy that my co-host is in his closet, but we'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily. And we'll talk about
Wait,
how he's gonna
I
come
have
out of the
not.
closet.
I have not been in the closet in about 35 years, so I'm not in the closet. Where I am
Oh,
at is my wonderful Mercari store. You can buy this wonderful item, and that behind me in my Mercari store. So this is my little shop that I have in my apartment. And if you want to shop online, you can find this and many more pieces at my Mercari store. I think it's your Southern Gent. So that's why I'm here. I'm doing a promo today for my store.
ne- okay. So I guess these are DEI clothes. These are all like black owned designers, or like what is the
No,
connection?
no, no, no. They are black owned because they were owned by me, a black person.
Moving on. Hello, 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 every beautiful body out there. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I'm joined by my colorful co-host, my bestie, my soul friend of 20 plus years, the corporate strategist, independent consultant, diva speaker, self-proclaimed diversity geek, and obviously salesman, D'Angelo Crane. Say hi, D.
Hello, 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 Oprah to my Gail. I'm so excited to be here with you again to bring a little love, light, and laughter to the Diva Collective stage, the Black Diva Collective stage, as we do every day at 12 and 3 p.m.
Absolutely. Well, you're definitely bringing lots of laughter today, and I cannot wait to get into this conversation. Welcome everyone to the Black Diva Collective Live. We love to, of course, entertain you and be right here with you. Joe's been sitting a smiley and a laughing face because he knows we're about to cut up. But D'Angelo, first things first, you want to take us into our sunny segment?
You know, in our Sunny segment, or what I call the art of the check-in, is what we do every day here on the Black Diva Collective. That we take a moment to acknowledge, to bring awareness, to just do some deeper conversations with one another. We're asking leaders to do that to help build empathy, vulnerability, and connections with your team members and colleagues. So, Blair, how's your mind? How's your heart? How's your soul? How's your curl pattern going today, honey?
Hey, well, these are my, I mean, I guess they are my curls because I bought them, but the curls are doing great. Curls for the girls. I'm feeling good about this new style. Overall, I'm feeling very accomplished. Like I said, this week was full of doozies, lots of information, lots of curveballs. I learned a lot about integrations and APIs and setting up things I'd never set up because I too am selling something, making 100K without a book. Excuse me, making 100K without a degree book. The landing page is live today. So if you're interested in purchasing that book, go to making100kbook.com. But I put it all together myself. So I'm feeling very, very good and very, very good about that. But D, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
No, I was
Oh,
just saying that we need to schedule, yeah, we need to schedule like a live book reading interview with you to talk about this fantastic book that I've been hearing so much about. And I've seen you have a speaking track for it that you went across the country and did over the course of the last several years. So I would love one of our shows just us to do a little deep dive and get some nuggets from the book. I'm sure people want the nuggets from the book and what can they learn from it. And so let's make sure we schedule that in the next couple of weeks when we do our Just Us show.
oh, I love that. You know what? You are the Flavor Flav to my public enemy. I appreciate that. And you see what I did there? Hype man.
Yeah.
Angelo, how's your head? How's your heart? How is your soul today?
Well, my head, as you can see, it's getting done tomorrow because I got this It'd be so. Uh, but no, I am good. I'm glad it's the end of the week because it has been a long week, as you said, a very busy week, but it's good. And we're going into next week with lots of organizations doing lots of fun Juneteenth activities and there's Pride Month activities. I'm sitting on the stage next week to talk about at work to talk about Black and queer experiences. So I'm really excited. It's the first time we've kind of had these type of conversations at work. And it's going to be really good. So I'll tell you all about that when I come off the stage next week because I'm going to be coming right from there to this stage. So yeah, so I'm excited about and it's Pride Weekend here. So I'm going to go watch the parade and just be I'll do all the things.
Go be gay. I feel like
Yes,
that
I'm going
was
to be.
what. Absolutely. I'm here
They
for
already
it.
know that. Okay, so Blair, I have a new segment. Dun, 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 we need to have I need to have some news that says new segment. And our new segment
Breaking.
a new segment that we're gonna do every day when it's just us. It's called Ask Blair. Do do do. I don't know. I needed some music. Ask Blair. Okay. Today's Ask Blair question from a viewer, and if you all have a question for Blair, please send it in. Blair Herbie, I was recently I often okay. Let me go back here. They say okay. I often wear many different types of hairstyles to work, and usually I wear my hair straightened. But I recently came back from vacation and decided to wear my hair curly. My colleague was so intrigued by my hair. My white colleague, she came over and put her hands in my hair to say, "Oh, what's going on with your hair?" And all I could do was back away. I still haven't said anything to her, but I feel embarrassed, humiliated, and disrespected by her. What should I do?
First of all, this is a very cute segment. I knew nothing about this, totally unprepared. I appreciate it. We'll keep moving forward. Second of all, girl, number one, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. That is absolutely absurd. It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. That has happened to me, I believe, 3 times in my life. Maybe 4. But the first time I remember I shaved my head, I went into a H.H. Gregg in like Duluth or in Atlanta. It's an appliance store. And I had on probably some workout clothes or something like that, no makeup. I go in there and the fella approaches me and says, "How you doing today?" No, you did not just not.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not. That happened. There was another time, definitely at work, where someone did one of those and I had to do one of these, but it shouldn't be happening. And I know from the first time that it happens, it is, number one, it's an egregious offense. It's definitely a violation. It is your body. So for anyone to touch your body without your permission is uncalled for and should be addressed. Sit in your feelings and process those emotions, and then connect those emotions to those words that need to be said to her, because she should be called in on that. And I'm a firm believer of calling us in and say, "Hey, Julie, Rebecca, Jennifer, Sarah, whomever it was, you either attempted to touch my hair or touched my hair last week after I changed the hairstyle. Although I appreciate you acknowledging that my hair is different, which you don't even have to throw that part in there. That's inappropriate. Please don't do that again." And you can use your voice as you choose to. I would always throw that in there just because I'm an optimist and I love to make people feel better. But that is not anything that we have been called to do, have to do. Oftentimes we're put in situations where we're coddling people who are being harmful and violent to us. But all you have to simply say to her is, "This is what you did to me. This is how it made me feel. Please don't do it again." And I'm sure she will acknowledge that and respect that moving forward. But that was a great question, D'Angelo. Is there anything that you would add? Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah, girl, and I just punched her in her face. No,
No, you see,
no.
and this is why we can't go live. He did not mean that. That is not. We do not advocate for
No, that's not really what happened. But I need to give a comic response to your very detailed, nice response. It has happened to me before. I was very young, and someone literally put her fingers into my locks the first time I had them. And I didn't do anything about it then. But now I would completely take their hand away from my head and give it back to them. I would probably do that and be like, "Your hand's better kept over there in your space, and I'll keep my hands to my space. Thank you very much. What else would you like to know about my hair right now?" And so maybe I would engage in that conversation with them to make them feel better. But look, I'm like, sometimes you might have to be like, "Oh, girl, look at all that hairspray in your hair."
or just plain simply like, don't touch me. Like,
Don't touch me.
This is we're at work. Like you say, you keep your hands from yourself, and I'll keep my hands to myself. But please don't touch my hair.
Yeah, it's about that personal space, right? Like, this is my personal space, and I think you're invading my personal space right now.
Absolutely. And if you continue to be affected by something like that or anything that's similar as it pertains to your hair, or anyone making comments about it not being professional or whatever the case may be, please, please, please do your due diligence and work with litigation or the EEOC or HR to enact the Crown Act and leverage that as legislation and information to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's great.
Good question, D.
Yeah, that's why we have to. No, we don't have any more, but we're going to have the Ask Blair series every day. So if you have any questions for Blair, please submit them, send it to us. Just all you have to do is put it on our page, on our YouTube, on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn. You can put it under any of our shows, and we will make sure we get that to Blair. So for our Ask Blair series, Ask Blair session. I need some music with this.
I see. We need to ask D segment as well. I feel like, isn't that
No,
fair?
this was about you right now. This is about you right
I'm
now. No,
all about equity and equality. But anywho,
you are.
I'm super
Um,
excited. Oh, yes, I'm
what?
super excited.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to get into the conversation today because, again, it's something that you brought to the table and which I greatly appreciate. But this is not an area of expertise of mine at all. And I mean, I'll tell you why. But D'Angelo, you want to tell the people what we're talking about today?
Blair, I love to talk about current events, especially when it intersects the work that we're doing. When we think about this DEIBA space, right? So anything that really has to do with how is it impacting Black people, how is it impacting how we show up at work, or how we're being supported, or how we just are showing up in America, period, across the globe. I'm always like interested in the topic and want to know more about it. And there's been so many things happening in the news. You had a show the other week about wokeism, and so I want to get into a little bit back because I missed that show. So we can talk about that a little bit because how the right wing conservatives have commandeered the word woke, and they don't even know what it means, right? And I was looking it up, and the word woke really comes from many years ago from a song by Hoodie Ledbetter, and he told people to stay woke, and it was about people as they were traveling through Alabama and southern states to make sure that you stay alert of all the different racism that people were enduring in places that were unsafe for us. So I want to talk about staying woke. I want to talk about Little Mermaid a little bit, and then some of the laws that are happening in Florida and Texas. When you think about their banning CRT conversations up to 12th grade, they're also now taking away DEI funding for public colleges in those states. And basically, Ron DeSantis, I hate saying that name. His name is like the other person I don't like. Is saying we don't need this, and we will not have these kind of initiatives in our state. We don't want that here. And then when I think about it, it's very anti-Blackness. So today maybe we're talking about anti-Blackness. Maybe that's what we're talking about that's happening across the country right now.
I love that. I love this conversation. And I just want to remind folks that we do center Blackness on the Black DEIBA Collective, right? And being pro-Black does not mean that we are anti-white. It just means that there are trials and tribulations and celebrations that deserve to be centered. And this is one of the places we do that. I would love to start with The Little Mermaid, honestly, because out of the three things you mentioned, that's the thing that I know the most about. And I'll tell y'all why. It is very important to stay abreast of what's going on in your industry. So I am definitely one of those industry trend lookers. I'll Google, I'll have things on Google Alerts about specific topics. I'll use Tech Nibble as well for certain content as it pertains to the tech industry. But when it comes to current events or the news, sometimes I slack. So I really rely on the Breakfast Club and D'Angelo Crane to give me that information. Not the best plan of attack, but it is helpful. Now, I did decide to go see The Little Mermaid mainly because it was nostalgic. I am not a big fan of remakes, aka The Color Purple, which we could also talk about at some other time.
There you go. It's a reimagined. It's not a remake. It's a reimagine. Go ahead. Yes.
Remakes, reimagines, reboots. I'm not a huge fan of those. I don't like doing anything twice. Anything. So let alone watching a film. But this one, it was a little longer than anticipated. There was tons of diversity, which we can get into as well, that sometimes was a little bit overcomplicated to me, but I think it was a beautiful rendition of The Little Mermaid. So what have you been hearing is going on in the world where people aren't in agreement that this is a great film?
Oh, well, you know how people are talking about. I mean, there was a hashtag that was trending, not my Ariel. So people, many people who are not a fan of inclusive movies and representation, because this is what this is all about. This is why Disney is trending and making movies that have more diversity and more characters that represent all of Americans and not just one part of our country, right? Not just the dominant culture. And so people are with lots of backlash over it. Of course, it's done well in America, but what I'm hearing about is overseas, in some places, particularly China was one of the places named, that it is not doing so well amongst all of this racial backlash that it's received. And I feel really sad that we have not progressed to a place of saying that what about the art? What about the artistry of it? Forget about, because Halle Bailey. Am I getting it right? Halle Bailey.
She's actually named after Halle Berry, so it's
Halle.
Halle.
Okay, Halle Bailey. Okay, Halle. Okay, you got it. Yeah. Holly Bailey. Okay, she is a beautiful singer, and the producers of the movie, when they first heard her sing, they said this is who we need for Little Mermaid. It wasn't really about her color; it was about her talent, and so that's who they went and got. And so it's just sad that once again we haven't evolved, and these are what we're limiting these conversations to when we think about the artwork and the artistry of it, and the imagery of it, and the importance of young Black and brown children seeing someone who looks like them on TV, right? And so I think that's more important than anything else. And we're missing that point as we have these silly conversations, to my point.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, it also reminds me of Spider-Man. So we are a Marvel household, shout out to Marvel. DC is but we love Marvel in this house, right? We go see all those films, and to see Miles Morales represented on the screen. I remember the very first time that we saw Trent and I, my son and I, went and saw the animated Spider-Man. So if you're not familiar, it's an animated film. Of course, it's a depiction of a young teenage Afro-Latino, essentially, young man, but he looked just like Trent at the time. He was a caramel colored, fun haired young man who loved Ray Shrimmerd, So I thought that was really, really cool to see that representation. It brought almost tears to my eyes, and to see his enjoyment and his fascination with that representation on the screen meant a lot. We could also see that on the red carpet, right? When the film was first premiered, there were so many young girls that were going up to Halle Bailey in excitement and looking at her in wonderment. And then at the same time, you also see the original Ariel hug her and embrace her and applaud her for that talent. So when I look at those moments, I think it is, like, to your point, it is very silly that these conversations are being had elsewhere. But we also know why, because again, when whiteness is centered, and that's all you're accustomed to seeing, when something different comes along, it is jarring. And I would say the only thing that I can extend is some empathy, but there's also that opportunity for people to see something different and say, okay, I could get with this, or at least let me go see the film.
But why? But my question is, why does it even have to be jarring? I mean, we're as pace now. We're not in post-racial America. We're definitely not that. But we are at a place where this is not the first movie that Disney has made that has had diverse characters in it, right? It won't be the last movie. So we need to get over this jarring. We need to embrace the fact that young Black females, women, little girls, and little boys have been loving Disney characters for many, many of years, no matter what color they've been. We've been embracing them, and they have not been our color. And so the same should be said for the other side. It's less about the person's skin tone and more about the content of the character, or the character itself, and how you may relate to the character on so many different levels, right? And I guess a benefit, a great thing that should be happening is that now also Black young women, girls, can relate to the character even more because they see that skin tone. And how might that make them want to continue to achieve levels of success because they're seeing themselves? Representation is so important when we think about even in our organizations, right? When people can see themselves in leadership roles, organizations, they're more inclined to stay with the organization and want to work there and be an advocate of the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. So having that representation in the film is not only great for, of course, the audience, but it's great for, the staff, the producers, everyone that's a part of making that film, that's underrepresented. And truly, Black folks are underrepresented in the film industry and in production. So to be a part of that also is historical, and it's legendary. So it means a lot to a lot of people involved. Again, back on Marvel. But I think about Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is is he my favorite? Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. But we'll say one of my favorite superheroes in the Marvel universe. I love Doctor Strange. And in the last film, there was a young, I want to say Mexican-American young lady. And there was there was a lesbian couple, or what they alluded to be a lesbian couple. So going back to it being jarring, I mean, for lack of better words, it's just different. So when you see it, I didn't go, oh my gosh, no, they didn't. I was like, okay, I wanted more from that. But they want to normalize it. So again, I think, as we talked about before, I don't know if you were on this particular show where we talked about, oh yeah, you were, with Sarah, as she talked about humanizing these emotions and humanizing these moments and realizing that we need to center a lot of these moments in empathy and compassion. I think that's why I extend that and say it may be jarring for some, but at the end of the day, how do you process those emotions, move through it, and accept something new?
Well, I would also say ask yourself why. Why is it even jarring?
Yeah,
Why is it even emotional? You need to sit in that for a moment and ask yourself, what is it that is presenting to you? Because for hundreds of years, all we saw were people who were not black on TV. And so now you're seeing a black person play in your favorite character's role. Go back and watch the old movie then. If you feel some sort of way about it, don't watch this movie. But to say that people are woke because they're in because they are increasing diversity on so many levels throughout organizations, that is not even the definition of woke. So just stop that shenanigans, as I would tell people to that. Yeah, yeah, it's
absolutely.
bananas.
Have you seen the
Um,
film?
I have not, so I just need to go. I need to put it on my list of things to do because I'm all about. I'm like I need to go out and support, but I haven't went to the movie theaters. I think one time since before COVID, probably. Maybe no, I'll take that back. Maybe I went 3 times, maybe 3 times.
Oh, I would love to see it in the comments. If going to the movies is one of your favorite pastimes, please let me know that I'm not alone because I definitely love going to the movies. I need to get a movie pass at this point. I would go twice a month, at least, if I could, if there were good films out. But in The Little Mermaid as well, I do want to share. It's not a spoiler. When we're talking about that diversity, and I was telling you about those layers of complexity, like Ariel's father, they say he's white. I believe he's white presenting, but I believe he is a Latin of Latin descent, I believe.
Yeah,
And then his daughters all represent the seven seas, which all makes sense, but they're all different shades. And you can tell that they're all different nationalities. And so it's very interesting because you want to get very logical and you're like, so who's the mama to all these? I guess all of the moms died are no longer in the picture. But also, the man that Ariel saves is a white man, which we knew in the story, right? But his mother is black. And we're like, wait, like a dark skinned woman. And apparently he was adopted, and we don't know where the father is. So there's so much diversity. It's almost overwhelming, but I can almost imagine watching it from a child's mind or a
yes,
child's eye. And they're just
yes,
like, oh, I see me, or that looks like my
yes.
friend, or I think
Yes.
sometimes
And maybe
we get
that's the takeaway from it. We don't need to dissect it because it's not for us. It is for children to go see it and be inspired and be enlightened and see themselves and be, have all the emotions we had when we first saw it. And so maybe we don't need, but it brings across the question is that when we first saw it, what a different lens we may have seen it through if we had seen ourselves on the screen. So it's a lot of it's layers to it, right? It's so many layers to it. But yeah, so yeah, I haven't seen that, but I'm going to put it on my list to go see of movies that are woke.
I just gave you several films you can go check out. I know you're not a Marvel fan, but a couple Marvel
No, but
flicks
the
too.
new one with Issa Rae's in the new one, right? In the Spider-Verse, is that what she's in right now?
I don't know. I'll have to check it out, but I believe it comes out June 9th. Oh, that's today. So I'll be there.
Okay, good. Okay, you tell me. I think that's the one I read that she was in. I was like, wait a minute, I need to make sure that she's in that. Okay, we didn't get to talk about the other two topics. I mean, we can go into them or we can save them for another day. No, we do. So, what do you? So right now, I'm also, like I said, very frustrated with Florida. As you know, I just cannot stand Florida. I don't even want to go to Florida for anything right now. I realize I probably will have to go there for work, because Florida has had just a slew of bills against the work that we're doing, right? Especially CRT, and it bothers me that we don't want to. I'm always like, how do we know? How will we know where we're going to or where we need to be going to if people don't know their past and understand their past, right? I think when we think about CRT and teaching young people what happened in this country, and CRT is not even, let's say CRT is a college term, right? Let's start there. Critical race theory is a college term. They wasn't even teaching that in grade school or high schools. They were teaching something about our past, right? Some of it was correct, some of it was incorrect, some of it wasn't even as in depth as it should be. But now they're saying, no, we don't want to even go into this because we don't want to make the white, now they didn't say this, but they don't want to make the white children feel bad and sad about this. But we've been feeling bad and sad about the mistreatment of people, and we still continue to feel bad about that. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on not teaching CRT in schools, having your mother yourself. Could you imagine your son not knowing what happened to us as in our journey in America?
A journey to America for sure, or
Right.
won't and throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, Black history is American history. So
Mhm.
I think that it is silly, again, to use your word from earlier, but it's silly to omit any of those truths. But because again, to your point, when there was a time when that information was shared, I don't know if there was therapy or any concern around how Black children may feel to know about the mistreatment and the journey that that took us, you know, from our homelands, right? And to not even know what happened before then, because that's all we talk about when it comes to American history is, you know, slavery. Like we have
Yeah.
a deeper history and a different path or past than that, but we don't know enough to even talk about it. So I think that it does everyone a disservice to not even talk about it thoroughly. So I mean, I think that's plenty to be said. I don't understand why it wouldn't be taught, aside from how it makes someone feel in one group at that. Are there any specific reasons as to why they're saying that they want to eliminate this type of curriculum?
I mean, every reason that you can think of, right? I think Ron DeSantis has continuously said DEI initiatives don't belong in the state, right? And so I think their thinking is that if we don't talk about the inequities of the past, then maybe people would just assume they're supposed to be equitable, right? But we got to remember that there are still the people still running equality and equality in the state are still people who have not been equitable to people, right? So people who are making these decisions are older people who probably have made engaged in racist behavior, and now they're saying we don't want people to know that we've engaged in racist behavior, and we're going to keep you from learning about that racist behavior that we may have engaged in. So it's really it once again is anti-blackness, and it's also anti-American history, to your point, right? Because if we don't know our sordid past, how can we improve upon it and make it better? And but yeah, it's really all about them not making people feel othered. But what happens is that people are already feeling othered,
Yeah.
regardless of what you're teaching them, right?
Yes, with the exclusion. I wonder what they're putting in its place. Because that's, I mean, that's a big chunk of information or a big chunk of the curriculum. And from what I understand, books are being removed and all of those things. So you're taking so many things away. And it's putting people in a position to be misinformed or uninformed. Just like Jared was talking to us about, you know, earlier in the week. So what do you put in its place? Have you heard anything about
Well,
that?
one of the things they did do was I'm not for sure the answer on that, but one of the things they did do was they decided to start to infuse Asian American history into the curriculum. And interestingly enough, when underrepresented groups band together, this is what happens. Many Asian American groups came out and said, "Hey, no, if you're not going to talk about everyone's history, don't put our history in there because it's a collective history that we need to discuss and talk about." And so I think that was very interesting and very powerful that they spoke out against that. But that is the history he decided that, or the legislators of Florida decided that needed to be infused in that. So it's really interesting of what's going on there. So I'm tracking that every day because every day there's something new that's coming out amongst all of the other anti-LGBTQ bills. It's now there's that HRC has came out with a state of emergency for the LGBTQ community because of all the 540 plus anti-LGBTQ bills that are being introduced, and many of them are coming out of Florida. So yeah, so lots of stuff going on.
That's strange. And I have a real quick comment before we go to the shout out of the day. But isn't Florida, or doesn't Florida have a very heavy Hispanic and Latinx population? So I would
It
think if
does.
they decided to refuse to take out part of, you know, Black history and replace it with another underrepresented community, they would represent a part of the community that's right there in their state. But they still
Yeah,
voted
but
that.
there's so many layers to that. I think I would love to have someone come on from the Latin American community and talk to us because every time I've been asking those questions about the demographics and why some of the things are happening in Florida, it's so many layers that people from the Latin community have educated me upon why some of the people are voting the way they vote. Sometimes I believe against their interests. Like for right now, they have a whole bill now in Florida where like you have to have all your paperwork to work on the farms in Florida. And so what's happening now is that the farming community is losing its workers because some of them are undocumented, unfortunately, right? And so there's no one to do some of the work because of these laws that have been in place. So it's just lots of going on there. Like I said, around anti other than the dominant
Yeah.
culture in Florida right now. So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for educating us. I appreciate it. What shout out do you have for us today?
Today, our shout out is to the rock star Charnay. She's the resume expert and career coach. She's been featured on Good Morning America and the Today Show, and you can find her on IG at the Resume Addict, and she has really good content. So that's why I will want to shout her out. So go out there and check out the Resume Addict.
I love that. Well, thank you, D'Angelo. Thank you for really leading the way today with the conversation about current events and breaking news. We appreciate it. And I think we all feel a little bit more enlightened. If you're interested in more of these topics and all of the things that we have to talk about, please join us every single day at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single weekday for your daily dose of D&B with D&B. Also, don't forget to donate to our Afrotech Indiegogo. Like, we only have $100, y'all, and we need a $7,000 to be sent to Afrotech to actually interview people live and in person. We would love to have your support there. You can find that link on any one of my last posts posted about the Black DEIBA Collective. All right. Well, y'all have a great weekend, and we will see y'all Monday. Bye. Thank you.